Ladies and gentlemen, life is a battle, and the battlefield is your mind. The greatest enemy you will ever face is not out there in the world. It is within you. It's the chaos of your thoughts, the self-doubt that creeps in when no one is watching, the habits that drag you down instead of lifting you up. But here's the truth. If you master your mind, you master your life, you see. Every single one of us stands at the edge of order and chaos. We have the potential for greatness, but we also have the capacity for self-destruction. The difference, it lies in our ability to discipline our thoughts, sharpen our focus, and take responsibility for the life we want to create. So tonight we are going to talk about exactly that, how to take control of your mind, how to harness the power of discipline, and how to build a life that is meaningful, strong, and truly yours. Because if you don't take control of your own mind, something or someone else will. Let's begin. Your mind is the foundation upon which your entire life is built. Every decision you make, every action you take, and every goal you pursue is first formulated in your thoughts. The way you think determines the way you perceive the world, and the way you perceive the world determines how you engage with it. If you allow your thoughts to run wild, dictated by external circumstances or unconscious patterns, you will find yourself living reactively rather than intentionally. Mastering your mind begins with taking full responsibility for your thoughts. Most people go through life without realizing that they are not in control of their own minds. They believe that their thoughts simply happen to them, that their moods and emotions are dictated by forces outside of their control. But this is a fundamental misunderstanding of how the mind operates. Your thoughts are not random occurrences. They are patterns you have either allowed or cultivated over time. If you do not take responsibility for them, they will be shaped by default, by past experiences, societal expectations, and the influence of others. To truly take charge of your life, you must first take charge of your thinking. The first step in taking responsibility for your thoughts is to become aware of them. Without awareness, there can be no control. You must begin to observe your own mind as if you were watching someone else's. Pay attention to the recurring thoughts that occupy your mind throughout the day. Are they empowering or limiting? Are they focused on progress and solutions, or do they dwell on problems and self-doubt? If you are constantly thinking about what could go wrong, about past failures, or about things beyond your control, then you are training your brain to expect and create negativity. Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward changing them. Once you become aware of your thoughts, you must take ownership of them. You must accept that every thought you entertain is a choice. Most people resist this idea because it forces them to confront the uncomfortable truth that they are responsible for their own suffering. It is much easier to blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck for the state of your life. But as long as you externalize the source of your struggles, you will never be able to change them. When you take responsibility for your thoughts, you reclaim the power to shape your reality. To master your thoughts, you must also understand that your mind is constantly being influenced by external forces. Social media, news, advertising, and even the people around you are all feeding your mind with information, often without your conscious awareness. If you do not filter what you allow into your mind, you will find yourself thinking thoughts that are not even your own. You must become ruthless in guarding your mental space. Just as you would not allow garbage to pile up in your home, you must not allow toxic, unproductive, or self-defeating thoughts to accumulate in your mind. The way you speak to yourself is one of the most powerful determinants of your mindset. Most people engage in negative self-talk without even realizing it. They tell themselves they are not good enough, that they will never succeed, or that they are victims of circumstances. These words, repeated over time, become deeply ingrained beliefs that shape their reality. If you do not take responsibility for the way you talk to yourself, you will unconsciously program your mind for failure. Instead, you must make a deliberate effort to reframe your internal dialogue. Speak to yourself as if you were speaking to someone you care about. Replace doubt with encouragement, fear with confidence, and limitation with possibility. Another crucial aspect of mastering your mind is learning to direct your focus. Your mind will always find what it is looking for. If you constantly focus on problems, you will see more problems. If you focus on opportunities, you will start to notice them everywhere. The quality of your life is largely determined by what you choose to focus on. This is why two people can experience the same situation but interpret it in completely different ways. One sees a setback as a failure, while the other sees it as a lesson. The situation itself is neutral. It is the meaning you assign to it that shapes your experience. And by consciously directing your focus, you can shift your entire perception of life. Taking responsibility for your thoughts also means taking responsibility for your emotional state. Many people believe that emotions are things that simply happen to them, but in reality, emotions are largely a product of thoughts. If you think fearful thoughts, you will feel fear. If you think empowering thoughts, you will feel confidence. While you cannot always control your initial emotional reaction, you can control whether you continue to feed that emotion with your thoughts. By training yourself to shift your focus and reframe your thinking, you can change your emotional state at will. Your mind is like a garden. If you neglect it, weeds will grow. Negative thoughts, doubts, fears, and insecurities will take root and spread. But if you consciously cultivate it, planting seeds of discipline, resilience, and confidence, your mind will become a source of strength rather than a battleground of chaos. So this requires consistent effort. You cannot expect to master your mind in a day, just as you cannot expect to build a strong body with a single workout. It is a lifelong process of self-awareness, self-discipline, and conscious growth. Mastering your thoughts does not mean ignoring reality or pretending that problems do not exist. It means choosing how you respond to them. It means understanding that while you cannot always control what happens to you, you can always control how you interpret and react to it. It means refusing to be a victim of circumstance and instead becoming the architect of your own destiny. Taking responsibility for your thoughts is not just about positive thinking. It is about mental discipline, about training yourself to focus on what you can control rather than being consumed by what you cannot. It is about recognizing that your thoughts create your beliefs create your actions, and your actions create your life. Discipline is the foundation upon which a strong mind is built. Without it, emotions take control, leading to impulsive decisions, inconsistent behavior, and a lack of meaningful progress. People often believe that success comes from motivation, but motivation is fleeting. It is unreliable, inconsistent, and often absent when you need it most. Discipline, on the other hand, is the force that allows you to take action regardless of how you feel. It is the ability to stick to a plan, execute on your goals, and push forward even when everything inside you wants to quit. In today's world, people are constantly being told to follow their feelings, to listen to their emotions, and to trust their instincts. While emotions have their place, they are not meant to be in charge. Emotions fluctuate from moment to moment. One day you feel motivated, the next day you don't. One moment you are full of confidence, the next you are consumed by self-doubt. If you allow your emotions to dictate your actions, your life will be chaotic and unpredictable. Discipline is what creates stability in an otherwise unstable world. It is the internal force that allows you to do what needs to be done, regardless of whether you feel like doing it or not. Many people wait until they feel like doing something before they take action. They wait for inspiration before they start working. They wait for the perfect mood before they begin exercising, studying, or improving themselves. But if you rely on feelings to guide your actions, you will never build anything of substance. The most successful people in any field are not those who feel motivated every day. They are the ones who have trained themselves to act in spite of their emotions. They understand that discipline is not about waiting for the right mood. It is about creating habits that override emotions. Building discipline begins with small, consistent actions. Most people think discipline is about making grand gestures or massive changes overnight, but that is not sustainable. True discipline is built through the repetition of small habits. Waking up at the same time every day, sticking to a workout routine, following through on commitments, and pushing yourself to complete tasks even when you don't feel like it. These are the habits that create discipline over time. It is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent. The more you train yourself to follow through on your commitments, the stronger your discipline becomes. One of the greatest obstacles to discipline is the tendency to seek immediate gratification. The human brain is wired to prioritize short-term pleasure over long-term rewards. This is why so many people struggle with procrastination, bad habits, and lack of self-control. They choose comfort over challenge, pleasure over progress, and distraction over discipline. But every time you give in to short-term gratification, you weaken your ability to control your actions. Discipline requires the ability to delay gratification, to resist the easy path in favor of the path that leads to long-term success. This means learning to say no to distractions, to resist the urge to quit when things get difficult, and to push through discomfort for the sake of growth. Another crucial aspect of discipline is learning to control your environment. People often assume that discipline is purely a matter of willpower is a limited resource. If you constantly expose yourself to distractions, temptations, and negative influences, you will eventually give in. The most disciplined individuals are not necessarily those with the most willpower. They are the ones who create an environment that supports their goals. They remove temptations, set clear boundaries, and structure their daily routines in a way that makes discipline easier. If you want to eat healthier, do not keep junk food in your house. If you want to be more productive, eliminate distractions from your workspace. Discipline is not just about resisting temptation. It is about designing your life in a way that minimizes the need for resistance in the first place. People who lack discipline often fall into the trap of making excuses. They tell themselves they are too tired, too busy, or not ready. But excuses are simply a way to justify inaction. Discipline requires honesty. It requires you to take responsibility for your actions, to recognize when you are making excuses and to push past them. The truth is, there will never be a perfect time to start. There will always be obstacles, challenges, and reasons to delay action. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is that successful people act despite their excuses. They do not wait for the perfect circumstances. They create progress in the midst of imperfection. Discipline is not about punishing yourself or living a rigid, joyless life. It is about freedom, the freedom to build the life you want, to achieve your goals, and to reach your full potential. When you lack discipline, you are a slave to your emotions, your impulses, and your bad habits. You become controlled by external forces rather than being in control of yourself. But when you develop discipline, you take back that control. You gain the ability to shape your own destiny rather than being at the mercy of circumstances. The key to mastering discipline is consistency. It is not about doing things perfectly, it is about doing them regularly. Discipline is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Every time you push yourself to follow through on a commitment, you reinforce the habit of discipline. Every time you resist the urge to give in to distractions or procrastination, you build mental strength. Over time, discipline becomes a way of life. It becomes who you are rather than something you have to force yourself to do. Developing discipline also requires embracing discomfort. Growth does not happen in comfort zones. The reason so many people fail to reach their potential is that they avoid discomfort at all costs. They avoid difficult conversations, challenging tasks, and situations that push them beyond their limits. But discomfort is not something to be feared. It is a sign that you are growing. Discipline means pushing through that discomfort, training yourself to embrace challenge, and proving to yourself that you are capable of more than you think. The more you push yourself beyond your perceived limits, the more resilient and disciplined you become. Clarity is one of the most powerful forces in shaping a meaningful and successful life. Without clarity, people drift aimlessly, unsure of what they truly want or where they are headed. They become reactive rather than proactive, constantly responding to circumstances rather than shaping them. When you lack a clear purpose, every distraction seems like an opportunity and every challenge feels like an insurmountable obstacle. But when you have clarity, you gain direction, focus, and the ability to filter out what does not serve your goals. Clarity is not just about knowing what you want. It is about defining it with precision so that every action you take moves you closer to your desired outcome. Many people struggle with clarity because they have never taken the time to truly define their goals, values, and priorities. They rely on vague desires such as wanting to be successful, happy, or financially stable, but they do not specify what those things mean to them. Without clear definitions, these desires remain abstract and unattainable. A goal that lacks clarity is nothing more than a wish. Clarity transforms wishes into actionable plans by removing ambiguity and creating a concrete vision for the future. When you define what success looks like for you in precise terms, you give yourself a roadmap to follow rather than wandering through life hoping for things to fall into place. One of the biggest obstacles to clarity is the noise of external influences. From childhood, people are conditioned by societal expectations, cultural norms, and the opinions of others. They are told what they should want, how they should live, and what success should look like. This often leads them to pursue paths that are not truly their own. They chase careers, relationships, and lifestyles that do not align with their inner values, only to find themselves feeling unfulfilled and directionless. To gain true clarity, you must strip away these external expectations and focus on what genuinely matters to you. This requires deep introspection, questioning long-held beliefs, and having the courage to define your own version of success rather than adopting someone else's. Clarity also requires specificity. It is not enough to say you want to be successful or happy. What does success look like in measurable terms? What does happiness mean in your daily life? The more specific you are, the easier it becomes to create a plan and take meaningful action. If your goal is financial independence, define the exact amount of money you need, the timeline in which you want to achieve it, and the steps required to get there. If your goal is to improve your health, determine the exact habits, routines, and benchmarks you will follow. Vague goals lead to vague results, but specific goals create a clear path forward. One of the most powerful ways to gain clarity is to write down your vision. The process of putting thoughts into words forces you to refine them. A goal that seems clear in your mind often becomes vague when you attempt to articulate it. Writing brings structure to your ideas, turning abstract desires into concrete objectives. This is why successful people, leaders, and visionaries emphasize the importance of written goals. A well-defined vision becomes a reference point, allowing you to measure your progress and make adjustments along the way. Without it, you are simply reacting to life instead of directing it. Clarity also requires eliminating distractions and unnecessary commitments. Many people struggle to make progress because they spread themselves too thin. They say yes to everything. Take on projects that do not align with their goals and allow distractions to consume their time and energy. Without clear priorities, everything seems important, making it impossible to focus on what truly matters. When you have clarity, decision-making becomes easier. You can confidently say no to what does not serve your vision and dedicate your energy to the things that move you forward. This ability to focus is what separates those who achieve great things from those who remain stuck in mediocrity. Another essential aspect of clarity is knowing why your goals matter. Many people set goals based on what they think they should achieve rather than what truly drives them. When you lack a deep emotional connection to your goals, it becomes easy to abandon them at the first sign of difficulty. Clarity is not just about knowing what you want. It is about understanding why you want it. When you have a strong reason behind your goals, motivation becomes natural. Challenges become stepping stones rather than roadblocks, and setbacks become opportunities to learn rather than excuses to quit. Your why gives you the strength to push forward even when things get difficult. Clarity also allows you to recognize and eliminate self-doubt. Uncertainty breeds hesitation, and hesitation leads to inaction. Many people fail to take the first step toward their goals because they are unsure of the outcome. They fear making the wrong choice, so they make no choice at all. But when you have clarity, you remove the mental clutter that causes hesitation. You trust your direction, make decisions with confidence, and move forward with purpose. Even if challenges arise, you adjust your course rather than questioning your ability to succeed. Clarity replaces fear with certainty, allowing you to take bold action rather than remaining stuck in analysis paralysis. Achieving clarity is an ongoing process. Life is constantly changing, and so are your goals, priorities, and circumstances. What matters to you today may not be what matters to you 5 years from now. This is why it is crucial to regularly reassess your vision and ensure that it still aligns with who you are and what you want. Many people achieve their initial goals only to realize that they were climbing the wrong ladder. They worked hard to reach the top, only to find that it was not where they truly wanted to be. To avoid this, you must continuously refine your clarity, checking in with yourself to ensure that your goals remain aligned with your values and aspirations. Clarity also enhances resilience. When you know exactly what you are working toward and why it matters, obstacles become temporary rather than permanent. Many people give up on their dreams because they encountered difficulties they did not anticipate. But when you have a clear vision, you see obstacles for what they are, challenges to be overcome rather than signals to quit. Clarity gives you the determination to persist, the focus to stay on track, and the ability to adapt when necessary. It is not just about setting goals, it is about creating a mindset that refuses to be derailed by temporary setbacks. Struggles are an inevitable part of life, yet most people view them as unfair burdens rather than opportunities for growth. The way you perceive difficulties determines whether they break you or make you strong. Many people allow their struggles to define them, using past hardships as excuses for inaction and self-doubt. They focus on what went wrong, replaying failures in their minds and reinforcing a sense of helplessness. However, those who master their minds understand that struggles are not barriers. They are stepping stones. Every challenge contains within it a lesson, an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more capable. The key is to reframe the way you view adversity so that instead of seeing it as something to avoid, you begin to see it as something to embrace. Most people seek comfort, believing that a life without struggle is the ideal existence. But growth does not happen in comfort. When things are easy, there is no push to improve, no demand for greater effort, no reason to develop resilience. Struggles challenge your weaknesses, exposing the areas where you need to grow. They reveal the gaps in your knowledge, the flaws in your approach, and the limits of your current abilities. Without struggle, there is no evolution. The strongest, most successful individuals in history did not reach their heights by avoiding difficulty. They reached them by facing it head on and using it to their advantage. Reframing struggles begins with understanding that challenges are not happening to you. They are happening for you. Most people operate from a victim mindset, believing that life is unfairly dealing them a bad hand. They blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck for their struggles, never realizing that their greatest power lies in how they respond to those struggles. The difference between those who succeed and those who remain stuck is not the presence or absence of adversity. It is the way they interpret and react to it. Where one person sees failure, another sees feedback. Where one person sees rejection, another sees redirection. The situation remains the same, but the meaning assigned to it makes all the difference. The brain is wired to seek patterns, and if you constantly focus on negativity, your mind will reinforce that pattern. People who view struggles as punishments or obstacles develop a habit of avoidance. They shrink from difficulty, fearing discomfort, and in doing so, they weaken themselves. But those who train themselves to see struggles as challenges to overcome develop an entirely different mindset. They look for the lesson in every failure, the opportunity in every setback, and the strength in every hardship. This shift in perspective transforms struggle from something to fear into something to harness. It becomes fuel for growth rather than an excuse for stagnation. Struggles also provide a test of resilience. Many people quit at the first sign of difficulty, assuming that obstacles mean they are on the wrong path. But difficulty does not mean you are failing. It means you are being forged. Just as muscles grow by being torn and rebuilt stronger, mental resilience is developed by facing hardship and learning to push through it. The ability to endure, to persist despite setbacks, and to rise after every fall is what separates those who achieve their goals from those who give up. If you never struggle, you never build resilience. If you never face hardship, you never discover your true strength. One of the most powerful ways to reframe struggles is to ask better questions. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what can I learn from this? Instead of thinking, this is unfair, ask, how can I use this to become stronger? The questions you ask shape the way you perceive reality. When you shift your questions from ones that reinforce victimhood to ones that empower you, you take control of your struggles rather than letting them control you. The mind responds to the direction you give it, and when you train it to seek solutions rather than problems, you begin to see challenges as opportunities for growth rather than as obstacles in your path. Another crucial aspect of reframing struggles is changing the way you define success and failure. Most people view failure as a permanent state, something to be avoided at all costs. They fear making mistakes because they believe mistakes define them. But failure is not the opposite of success. It is a necessary component of success. Every failure is a lesson, a step forward, a refinement of your approach. The most successful individuals in the world are not those who never fail. They are those who fail repeatedly and use each failure to improve. They understand that every mistake brings them closer to mastery, that every setback is simply a setup for a greater comeback. Struggles also serve as a filter separating those who are truly committed from those who are merely interested. Many people claim they want success, but the moment things become difficult, they retreat. They want results without effort, rewards without sacrifice, and progress without discomfort. But struggle forces you to prove how badly you want something. It demands commitment, effort, and persistence. If you are willing to push through struggle, it means you are truly dedicated. If you quit at the first sign of adversity, it means your desire was never strong enough to begin with. Struggles force you to ask yourself whether you are truly willing to do what it takes. Reframing struggles also requires recognizing the power of perspective. The same challenge that one person sees as a roadblock, another person sees as an opportunity. Two people can face the exact same difficulty, yet one will use it as a reason to quit, while the other uses it as a reason to push harder. The difference lies in mindset. Those who succeed have trained themselves to extract meaning, to find value in hardship, and to use every struggle as a tool for self-improvement. They understand that their perception shapes their reality, and that by changing the way they see challenges, they change the way they experience them. One of the greatest gifts struggles offer is the ability to develop self-mastery. When things are easy, there is no need for discipline, mental toughness, or strategic thinking. But when life becomes difficult, these qualities become essential. Struggles force you to develop patience, problem-solving skills, and emotional control. They teach you to manage stress, to navigate uncertainty, and to persevere despite setbacks. Every struggle is an opportunity to sharpen these skills, to refine your character, and to strengthen your ability to handle whatever life throws at you. The more you embrace struggle as a tool for self-mastery, the more control you gain over your mind, your actions, and ultimately, your life. The quality of your life is directly determined by the quality of your thoughts. Most people underestimate the power of their own minds, failing to realize that every action, decision, and outcome begins with a single thought. Thoughts shape beliefs, beliefs shape actions, and actions shape results. The way you think about yourself, your abilities, and the world around you dictates the limits of what you can achieve. If your mind is filled with self-doubt, negativity, and fear, your life will reflect that. If your mind is disciplined, focused, and filled with empowering beliefs, you will create a reality that aligns with those thoughts. Mastering your mind is not just about thinking positively. It is about gaining control over the patterns of thought that determine the direction of your life. Many people allow their minds to be dominated by automatic, repetitive thoughts that work against them. They replay past failures, obsess over worst-case scenarios, and convince themselves they are not capable of achieving more. This creates a cycle of self-sabotage where the mind constantly reinforces limitations rather than possibilities. The first step in mastering your mind is becoming aware of these patterns and recognizing how they shape your reality. Thoughts are not just passive mental events, they are active forces that create momentum in a particular direction. If your thoughts are constantly focused on problems, your mind will filter the world in a way that makes those problems seem bigger and solutions seem impossible. If your thoughts are focused on growth, resilience, and opportunity, you will naturally begin to take actions that lead to positive change. One of the most destructive patterns of thought is self-doubt. The mind is constantly interpreting the world based on past experiences, and when those experiences include failure or rejection, they can create limiting beliefs that hold you back. Many people tell themselves they are not smart enough, talented enough, or lucky enough to succeed, but these beliefs are not based on objective truth. They are interpretations, mental narratives shaped by fear and insecurity. The reality is that every person has the ability to grow, adapt, and improve. The difference between those who succeed and those who do not is not intelligence or natural ability. It is the ability to challenge and reprogram limiting beliefs. The mind can be trained, and beliefs can be reshaped. It requires conscious effort, but it is possible to replace self-doubt with self-confidence and turn fear into fuel for growth. Reprogramming the mind starts with changing internal dialogue. The words you speak to yourself matter more than anything others say about you. If you constantly tell yourself you are not good enough, your mind will look for evidence to support that belief. If you tell yourself you are capable and resilient, your mind will begin to align with that perspective. This is not about blind optimism or ignoring challenges. It is about taking control of the messages you reinforce. Successful people are not free from doubt, but they have trained themselves to counter negative thoughts with empowering ones. When a thought of failure arises, they replace it with a thought of possibility. When self-doubt creeps in, they remind themselves of past successes and strengths. Over time, this practice rewires the brain to operate from a place of confidence rather than fear. Mental discipline is also essential in mastering your mind. Most people allow their thoughts to drift aimlessly, reacting to whatever emotions or external stimuli arise. This lack of control leads to mental chaos, where focus is scattered, stress is amplified, and productivity suffers. Training the mind requires intentional effort. It means directing thoughts rather than being controlled by them. Meditation, journaling, and visualization are all powerful tools that help in gaining mental clarity and control. Meditation allows you to observe your thoughts without being ruled by them. Journaling helps process emotions and gain insight into recurring thought patterns. Visualization programs the mind for success by creating a mental blueprint of the outcomes you want to achieve. These practices are not just abstract concepts, they are practical strategies used by high performers to condition their minds for success. Another crucial aspect of mastering the mind is controlling focus. Attention is one of the most valuable mental resources, yet most people squander it on distractions, negativity, and trivial concerns. Where your focus goes, energy flows. If you constantly focus on obstacles, failures, and what is going wrong, your mind will amplify those problems. If you train yourself to focus on solutions, progress, and opportunities, your brain will adapt by finding ways to move forward. This is why some people seem to thrive under pressure while others collapse. It is not about external circumstances. It is about where they place their attention. Developing the ability to shift focus consciously is one of the most powerful skills for mastering the mind. Emotional regulation is another key component. Thoughts and emotions are deeply connected, and if emotions are not managed effectively, they can take control of the mind. Many people allow anger, frustration, and anxiety to dictate their actions, leading to impulsive decisions and unnecessary stress. Mastering your mind means learning to observe emotions without being overwhelmed by them. It requires stepping back, analyzing the situation objectively, and responding rather than reacting. This does not mean suppressing emotions. It means understanding them, processing them, and using them as guides rather than chains. Emotional intelligence is a fundamental part of mental mastery, allowing you to navigate challenges with clarity and composure. One of the most overlooked aspects of mastering the mind is the influence of environment. The people you surround yourself with, the content you consume, and the habits you engage in all shape the way you think. If you are constantly exposed to negativity, gossip, and mediocrity, it will infiltrate your mind and lower your standards. If you surround yourself with ambitious, disciplined, and growth-oriented individuals, your mind will begin to reflect those qualities. The brain is highly adaptable, and it absorbs the patterns of those around you. This is why it is critical to be intentional about what influences you allow into your life. Mastering your mind is not something that happens overnight. It is a lifelong process of conditioning, refinement, and growth. It requires consistent effort, self-awareness, and the willingness to challenge old patterns. But the reward is immense. When you gain control over your thoughts, you gain control over your actions. When you gain control over your actions, you gain control over your life. The mind is the command center of everything you do, and when you learn to master it, there are no limits to what you can achieve. Discipline is the foundation of self-mastery. Without it, even the best intentions, the most ambitious goals, and the grandest dreams remain unrealized. Most people rely on motivation to take action, but motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes, driven by emotion and external circumstances. Some days you feel inspired and energized, ready to take on the world. Other days you feel tired, discouraged, and unwilling to push forward. If you depend on motivation alone, your progress will be inconsistent, and inconsistency is the enemy of mastery. Discipline, on the other hand, does not rely on feelings. It is the ability to act despite how you feel, to do what needs to be done even when you do not want to do it. It is the difference between those who dream of success and those who achieve it. At its core, discipline is about making a decision and sticking to it. Most people make commitments to themselves and break them the moment things become difficult. They say they will wake up early, exercise, eat healthy, work hard, and stay focused. But the moment they feel resistance, they make excuses. They allow comfort and immediate gratification to override long-term progress. But it means honoring your commitments even when no one is watching. It means recognizing that every small decision matters, that every action either strengthens or weakens your self-discipline. The more you give in to excuses, the weaker your willpower becomes. And the more you push through discomfort, the stronger you become. Developing discipline requires training the mind to resist the pull of short-term pleasure in favor of long-term success. The modern world is filled with distractions and temptations designed to steal attention and energy. Social media, entertainment, junk food, and endless dopamine-driven activities weaken mental resilience, making it harder to stay disciplined. The more you indulge in instant gratification, the more your brain becomes wired for it, making it increasingly difficult to delay rewards and stay focused on meaningful goals. Reversing this pattern requires intentional effort. It means setting clear priorities, eliminating distractions, and creating an environment that supports discipline. If you are surrounded by temptation, discipline becomes a battle. If you structure your life in a way that reinforces good habits, discipline becomes a way of being. One of the most effective ways to build discipline is through small daily commitments. Many people fail because they try to overhaul their entire lives overnight, setting unrealistic goals that quickly lead to burnout. But discipline is built in increments. It is strengthened through small wins, waking up when you said you would, completing the task you promised yourself you would do, resisting the urge to procrastinate. Each time you follow through on a commitment, you reinforce the belief that you are in control of your actions. Each time you break a commitment, you weaken that belief. Over time, these small choices compound, creating either a life of discipline and achievement or a life of regret and unfulfilled potential. Another essential aspect of discipline is learning to master emotions. Most people let their feelings dictate their actions. If they feel tired, they skip the workout. If they feel unmotivated, they avoid work. If they feel uncomfortable, they retreat. But emotions are temporary, and allowing them to control behavior leads to inconsistency and failure. It means acting regardless of how you feel. It means understanding that emotions do not determine reality, actions do. You may not feel like working, but if you do the work anyway, progress is made. You may not feel like pushing through discomfort, but if you do, you build resilience. By training yourself to separate emotions from actions, you gain control over your mind and ultimately your life. Another challenge people face with discipline is the fear of failure. Many avoid taking action because they fear they will not succeed, so they remain stuck in hesitation, waiting for the perfect moment. But waiting is an illusion. There is no perfect moment, and hesitation only strengthens fear. Discipline means taking action regardless of uncertainty. It means embracing failure as part of the process rather than a reason to quit. Every mistake is a lesson, every setback a test of perseverance. Those who succeed are not those who never fail, but those who refuse to give up. They keep going, refining their approach and pushing forward despite obstacles. This mindset is only possible through discipline, through the ability to continue even when results are not immediate, even when doubt creeps in, even when the road ahead is uncertain. A critical component of discipline is time management. Many people claim they do not have enough time to pursue their goals, yet they waste hours every day on meaningless activities. Discipline means taking control of time, using it intentionally rather than allowing it to slip away. It means setting priorities and eliminating distractions. Time is the most valuable resource, and how it is used determines success or failure. Those who master their time master their lives. They do not waste hours scrolling through social media, watching television, or engaging in mindless entertainment. They structure their days with purpose, ensuring that their actions align with their goals. This does not mean working nonstop. It means working with focus and intention, ensuring that every moment is used effectively. Another key to discipline is accountability. They set goals but have no consequences for failing to follow through. Discipline is strengthened when there is a system of accountability in place. This can mean having a mentor, a coach, or a community that holds you to a higher standard. It can also mean creating personal consequences for breaking commitments. When there is something at stake, discipline becomes easier to maintain. Those who take accountability seriously are far more likely to stay committed to their goals. Ultimately, discipline is the foundation of success in any area of life. It is not about being perfect, but about being consistent. It is about understanding that results do not come from occasional bursts of effort, but from sustained action over time. Mastering discipline means mastering yourself, your habits, your time, and your emotions. It is not easy, but it is necessary. The difference between those who achieve greatness and those who remain stuck is not talent or luck. It is discipline. Those who develop it unlock their full potential, while those who lack it remain trapped by their own limitations.